From adventure stories reports to first contact and captivity narratives of the Indians of Cooper's world, the fabrications of dime novelists, and finally the Wild West shows, and the first two decades of filmmaking, the public was presented with a distorted, shifting, polarized set of images that gave them a way to categorize and redefine the first residents of the continent. The resulting invention is an imaginary Indian, not a group of widely diverse peoples that can be easily digested by the consumer.
Wow, that's fascinating.
For the most part of the last century, Native Americans in film have been generalized in a very stereotypic manner. Since the arrival of the first colonists in America, there have been stereotypes of the Native American population. These stereotypes are shown in early American literature such as James Fenimore Cooper's The Last of the Mohicans. In 1984, Thomas Edison started making moving photos known as penny arcade picture shows. Many of these had Native American themes in them, and these started to portray Indians as males with arms folded high on their chest and females as meek characters. In the coming years of silent black and white movies, mostly in the 1900s to 1920s, Native Americans were portrayed as mysterious and took into account many stereotypes, such as savagery. Although these depictions were not true, Americans just accepted these images because they didn't understand the reality of the Indians' existence. One film, The Vanishing American, was directed by Zane Grey and reflected the government's mistreatment of Indians and society's ignorance of Native struggles. This film was made in 1925.
Well, that's fascinating.
From the year 1930 to about midway through the century is when Hollywood formed the American myth of the all-American hero, such as John Wayne. The movies in this era portrayed the Indians in a better light than the movies prior to the 30s, but still nowhere near accurate. The movies included cowboy talkies or western movies. One such movie created in 1950 is Broken Arrow, directed by Delmer Daves. The movie is significant in that it was the first of its kind to portray Indians as respectable beings, and not just savages like in many of the movies before its time. Another such movie is The Searchers. The movie was directed by John Ford, a famous Western director, and in this movie he tried to straighten out the distorted portrayal of Indians, which he himself actually helped create. This being said, The Searchers is arguably one of the most racist movies towards Native Americans.
Pages of life rides a man you must fear and respect. A man whose unconquerable will and boundless determination carved a lusty, rough, and boisterous slice of history called The Searchers. It's John Wayne as Ethan Edwards, who had a rare kind of courage. The courage that simply keeps on and on, far beyond all reasonable endurance, never thinking of himself as martyred, never thinking of himself as brave.
Well, we'll find him in the end, I promise you. We'll find him.
Here is the story of a man, hard and relentless, tender and passionate, of people who dared to challenge a hostile land. Here is drama of great love and aching loneliness. I found him. I found Lucy.
What you saw was a buck wearing Lucy's dress. I found Lucy back in the canyon.
What was she?
What do you want me to do, draw you a picture? Spell it out? Don't ever ask me. As long as you live, don't ever ask me more.
Go, Martin, please.
Stand aside, Martin.
No, you don't, Ethan.
Ethan, no, you don't. Stand aside. Looks like you got yourself surrounded. Yeah, and I figure on getting myself unsurrounded. Let's go!
In the 1960s and 70s, the Civil Rights Movement and the Vietnam War protests were in full swing. Americans were predisposed to think well of American Indians and were receptive to change and reform. This is evident in movies of the era such as Soldier Blue, which was directed by Ralph Nelson. The movie related to atrocities of Vietnam and to the Indian massacre at Sandy Creek, in a graphic and gut-wrenching film. This film was created in 1970. As the years progressed, Americans became even more sympathetic towards the Indian situation, although even today they still use many Indian stereotypes and were created several hundred years ago. Even today, the prejudices of Americans dominate settler society continued to avoid confronting institutional and cultural realities in Hollywood.
Wow. That's fascinating stuff, man.
That is not fascinating stuff.
I didn't know.
If we go back home and watch Pocahontas, I'd still tap that.
No. Thanks, Indian guy. I appreciate it.
Yes,
You're welcome.
Thanks, Indian guy. Come
You're
back to
welcome.
your cupboard. Man, it is so hard to believe that Native Americans have been misrepresented in film over the last century.
I know, bro. Like, given this saturation of imagery, it is fair to say that 3 consecutive generations of Americans were conditioned to see Native people in a certain way. That sucks.
Yeah, it does. Anyway, Indian man, thanks for all your help.
We really learned a lot.
But now it's time for you to go.
It's good to see you. Thanks for everything. Bye. Wow. I will cherish this guy forever.
Man, let's go finish Pocahontas.
Alright.
Oh, dude, this would be perfect.
I'm an Indian outlaw, half Cherokee and Choctaw. My baby, she's a Chippewa, she's a one of a kind. All my friends call me Bear Claw.
We're gonna light these Indians
Village
on
chicken
fire!
is my pawpaw. He gets his orders from my mama. She makes him walk the line. You can find me in my wigwam. I'll be beating on my tom-tom. Pull out the pipe and smoke you some. Hey, and pass it around. 'Cause I'm an Indian outlaw, half Cherokee and Choctaw. My baby, she's a Chippewa. She's a one of a kind.
This film
I ain't looking for trouble. We can ride my pony double, make your little heart bubble, Lord, like a glass of wine. I remember the medicine man. He caught running water in my hands, drugged me around by my headband, said I wasn't the kind. 'Cause I'm an Indian outlaw, half Cherokee and Choctaw. My baby, she's a Chippewa, she's a one of a kind. I can kill a deer or a buffalo, just my arrow and my hickory bow. From 100 yards, don't you know? Oh, I do it all the time. They all gather